Hello folks, this is Miguel from the Embargo Man channel. Now we're talking about since New Year's Eve celebrations, alright? For 2019, this is around 8 days ago. Alright, for this year, for the beginning of this year, there was so many New Year's celebration, New Year's Eve. I heard about one place that I wanted to spend New Year's is in New York City. It has been since the year 2000. Since 1999, beginning of the year 2000, when I see the big ball. So, for a matter of fact, there's so many places out there to celebrate New Year's, and then the extravaganza and stuff. That since 2007, Toshiba was hosting New Year's ball drop in New York City. Well, it is for one thing that for New Year's, it was like I had never been to New York. You know, if like I wanted to go to Times Square. This is awesome. But one thing I hope for 2020, so for 2019, the one that have stole the New Year's show for opening 2020 was North Korea. North Korea stole the New Year's end of the year celebration for beginning of 2019 in Pyongyang. All the pyrotechnics and stuff. Boom, North Korea. Then it came China, Hong Kong, really favorite to start of the new year. But then Australia, and then United Arab Emirates. But in global news times, there's one thing. One of the best New Year's Eve celebration is Las Vegas, Nevada, 2019. The beginning of 2019 in Las Vegas, Nevada, it was a bunch of pyrotechnics and stuff. That's what it is, because I seen it in YouTube global news. Because the best celebration end of the year, like the best New Year's Eve celebration in the United States, is the West Coast. The West Coast wins hands down against New York City, because besides the dropping ball in the East Coast, in New York, the West Coast hands down is the pure winner. Las Vegas, Nevada. Well, so the thing is that that all I want is New York to be number one in these New Year celebration, and let me tell you why. So, things are going on, new technology coming out, and I wonder with all these things, even TVs. So it has been since 2012, since 6 years. I have seen. This is the room. I have been using the Bravia, watching TV in a Bravia, and it has lasted me a long time. Alright? So, I never have any Sony. I do have Sony products before, Walkman and but not a TV. I had a Sony TV for like 6 years, right? So, I wonder what my purchase is that I mentioned, and I'm not even promoting for Sony or whatever. Look, Sony ain't paying me this, but I will say that for that, the city of New York and Sony has to do something during New Year's. 8K is a new technology going on, and I favor OLED over QLED. OLED, it has the brightest pictures and everything like that. What else could you expect from OLED TV? So I have done my first purchase at OfferUp. OfferUp has an app, right? Then I have paid $10 for a radio, right? It was a brand name radio that I like. I think have in Walgreens. You buy it, sell it for $12. You buy one and get the one 50% off. But then after that, I went to that Walgreens and they are sold out. Even though that Sony invented the Walkman and they even started with little radios. I know the company first very successful product was a little radio, wasn't a Walkman, right? So I have seen for years that this company has made these small radios, even though it sucks that you cannot find Walkman with radio only or Walkman with cassette and radio only Blu-ray play. I mean, only MP3 players. Even though that nowadays I'm using a Sony product right now and I'm recording in a Sony product, but let me tell you what, this is something that I have seen. This is nothing high tech. This is just old technology. So an OfferUp, some random guy have a radio or like the same radios. Okay, they offer me for $10, right? So I got it. This is the Sony radio that I have, right? It is ICF P26, $10 in OfferUp. You know, all I do is this thing is good for sports. I mean, whenever there's no lights on or whatever, I could listen to sports radio or something like that. For example, I may just turn on the radio and I listen. It has FM radio too, but most likely you use it to listen to sports whenever there's no lights or whatever, you know, or something like this. I just find this is just a radio. This is a sample of it's an AM. This is just but hey, it has an antenna. All right, that's what it is. Hotel deals and stuff. In Spanish, we're in Miami. This is what it is. What it is. Sports radio. These radios, I could listen to sports.
Smart. So we're all very rich, but not very smart. Well, we already had a Joe on earlier. So since we're doing two Adams, we'll have a second Joe on. How about that? Okay. All right. So let's go out to the guest line right now. Joining us on the Orion Fuels and Downstairs Convenience Stores guest lines. They are truly steps beyond convenient. Joe Shad. First of all, Joe, thanks so much for taking the time to join us on like 3 minutes notice. Really appreciate that.
But it's a $7.90 ticket for the Miami Heat games. But anyway, I have 8 FM radio in there. But yes. put it this way, it cost me $10. This radio cost me $10. It's a nice radio. You know, you could listen to little music, literally take it to the beach, but once you like for sports people and stuff, want to listen to your football games, want to listen to your basketball games, your baseball games, or whatever it is, this radio is a wonderful radio. It's an awesome radio to listen to sports and stuff. You know, I mean, and not so great for music, but for listening sports or news or whatever it is. You know, this radio is the best buy you could do. You could have it an OfferUp. I think they sell it on eBay and stuff, but you know, this is the best radio you could find for the money. All right. So, in order to say about New Year's presentations for 2020, first of all, I mean, Las Vegas should be number 2 in the list, and I wonder why I want New York to be number 1. The thing is that, after all, because when I seen the New Year's ball, the where it says Toshiba, it says now Capital One. What Capital One is a bank. You see like they promote credit cards. So what's the deal in this? This is for 2020. What I want to see going up. The Olympics are going to be in Tokyo, Japan, and why not a company from Tokyo, Japan would do the promotion of the 2020 New Year's in one Times Square Tower, where the New Year's ball in Times Square starts. All it is you can have an OLED 8K Jumbotron. All right, this is like promoting the Master Series. I mean, I know there's CES and some of their competitors, but QLED or whatever. But OLED TV, 8K OLED. All right. So what's going to be is, first of all, instead of Capital One, instead of Toshiba, it will say Sony. But it will say Sony, but I will tell you how it is. So this would be where the New Year's ball, the New Year's in one Times Square, where Sony could promote this. Well, wonderful surprise. I could tell you what, everything is going to be fine. I mean, the city of New York, Sony Corporation. I mean, this is to the city of New York and Sony to say that to improve 2020, this is where it is. And I'll show you what it is, and let me tell you how it is, how it's going to look like one Times Square building. Even though I did some Pix art in the phone, but you know, this is like a Photoshop, but I'll show you how it looks like. I'll tell you how it ends up, and you'll find out how awesome that New Year's Eve in New York is going to, in New York City, Times Square is going to be. So this is the one Times Square in New York City. It is a Sony Jumbotron OLED that in the strike of midnight at 12 o'clock after January 1st, 2020, this screen is going to pop out some fireworks. You're going to see a whole fireworks festival that Sydney, Australia is going to envy. So the lights is going to be provided, whichever lighting company, probably Sony could do it, but this is how one Times Square 1 is going to be. It's going to promote the Master P technology TVs, 8K OLED, and then this is going to be, after that, you're going to see fireworks all over Times Square, and And guess what? Fireworks are popping out of the garden, Madison Square Garden, that is. So after you seen the screen, right? The screen is a big jumbotron, an OLED Sony jumbotron. So the lights for the ball would be provided by either GE Lighting or Westinghouse Lighting or whoever, or probably Sony might get involved in the New Year's ball. So the instead of Capital One or instead of Toshiba, it said Sony. It would be the first thing before after the ball has dropped. There will be a bunch of pyrotechnics, a bunch even that Sydney, Australia could give envy. So at the start of New Year's Eve in January 31st, 2019. So the one Times Square would have this a jumbotron, an OLED 8K jumbotron, because 8K is the latest television technology. A 8K jumbotron. So an 8K jumbotron, an 8K, a Sony 8K jumbotron right there where the ball says, it says Sony in there, and then it says the TV says Sony, right? So to promote this thing, because Sony is from Tokyo, Japan, the 2020 Olympics are going to be hosted in Tokyo, Japan. So what it would be is that the all one Times Square is one that says promoting for, like, I think for the next PlayStation game console or whatever it is, or they will just put Capital One. Just Capital One ain't gonna be there on the top. It will say Sony instead of Capital One, but it will say 2020. So what it is with this pyrotechnic situation, at first, when the ball, when in January, in December 31st of 2019, when the ball comes down, it will have count the minutes versus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. When it counts down to 10, the ball falls down, all light up. Then after that, the pyrotechnics, the fireworks will appear on the Jumbotron 8K screen. When you finally notice that there's fireworks in the building, no, it's just an 8K technology that the first comes after that. Then the building pulls out some fireworks at the end after the display. Then that's where the actual fireworks. Then the actual fireworks go popping out all over Times Square. Boom, 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 and to that final cut, you just blast some fireworks up from the garden. I mean Madison Square Garden, like it would just pop out from Madison Square Garden and boom, 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 all the fireworks. All you could see all over Times Square, like when it pops out from New York City, when it pops out from Madison Square Garden, when the fireworks pops out of the garden, the thing you notice is that you cannot, that the fireworks looks exactly like in real life, like in the screen, promoting 8K OLED technology, because I think OLED is the best technology. I mean, it surpassed QLED. I mean, for TVs, this is one of the buildings that Sony could promote their 8K OLED screen in New York City in a huge jumbotron. All it says is Sony. It says Sony instead of Capital One. So what it is that, like, it's gonna be called the Times Square Fireworks Fest, New York Fest, Pyrotechnics Fest. The New York Times Square Pyrotechnics all over New York festival that is going to be there from from the end of this year, from 2020 and beyond, that it will be always the screen popping out. Like at first, when the ball falls down, when the year ends, and when it comes at 12 o'clock, the pyrotechnics come out of the 8K Jumbotron without even notice it. And then you cannot see the difference when the actual fireworks come out. Boom, 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 boom. And also that when you have, and also when you have burst some fireworks out of the top of Madison Square Garden. I mean, probably part of Madison Square Garden would be a bunch of Times Square could include Madison Square Garden, so fireworks would pop out of the garden. That's what be in January 1st, 2020, at a stroke of midnight. The fireworks, the Times Square Fireworks Festival, New Year's Eve fireworks extravaganza, presented by Sony. The New York City and Sony could have to do this, have this plan for the 2020 New Year's celebration. It would envy Sydney, Australia. It would just outshine Las Vegas. I mean, in other words, I just want Times Square to be like the #1 place for people could go end of the year, because Sydney, Australia, and China and Dubai and all have their own thing. But I don't want that even have a Bogota to have more than New York. I want New York to like be in the top of the food chain for New Year's Eve. Pyrotechnics compete with Sydney, Australia. All they have to do is that the city of New York and Sony could get together, promote this 8K OLED screen, an 8K Jumbotron, and promoting the Master Series, 8K TVs, Master with the 8K Jumbotron. This is better off than Las Vegas, the CES in Las Vegas. But this is just New Year's, the end of the year, the end of 2019, after like Sony and the city of New York to have the ball come down. Even though I don't know if Sony could have technology to make the only thing is what Sony could do is just the Jumbotron screen, but the lights would be, I think, by GE or probably GE would be. But then after all, what it is that the lights, the New Year's ball falls down when it comes 2020, then the 8K Jumbotron OLED by Sony would promote the fireworks on the screen, and then one Times Square building pops out the actual fireworks. Then the actual fireworks pop out, and then at the end. I mean, after all, the first thing what I have to do with this New Year's Eve celebration in Times Square, when Sony promoted and stuff, is that by the count of 12 at midnight, the ball falls. Then the screen would pop out fireworks on the 8K OLED Jumbotron screen by Sony. And then once they figure out this, then the actual fireworks come out. Actual fireworks come out of the building, and the thing you're gonna see that when rockets pop out of the garden, when fireworks pop out of the garden, and when the rockets pop out and do fireworks out of Madison Square Garden, they will play Frank Sinatra's New York, celebrating 2020. That would be an awesome celebration as far as spreading the news. In New York, that by Frank Sinatra. That is going to be the end of that. I mean, you could add a little Alicia Keys on the way at the end. But yeah, but New York is the main song promoting Sony's 8K technology at the end of the year. From Times Square 1, because when the ball falls, the 8K's OLED jumbotron will pop out fireworks and scream, and after fireworks and scream, then I mean, it might just gonna look like this in the screen. it looks in the screen. That's what you see on the jumbotron screen at the Times Square one. This OLED jumbotron screen. You're gonna see fireworks at an OLED screen. 8K screen. 8K is the latest technology. 2020, New York City, Times Square. Sony's 8K technology on their OLED on the jumbotron OLED screen. After the ball falls down, 2020 celebration, pyrotechnics all over Times Square. And then after that, at the final cut, when they have played New York, New York from Frank Sinatra, rockets popping out of Madison Square Garden, and you have all the fireworks celebration all over New York City and everything in Times Square, like all the Times Square area. That means that it's going to be big, it's going to be awesome. That New York, that's the city of New York, and Sony could get together and do this. For one, city of New York to have the pyrotechnic celebration, Sony to provide the jumbotron so they could show the pyrotechnics in their 8K OLED jumbotron screen, to figure out that the new technology of 8K is a leap to the future. So then after that, the fireworks show, the actual fireworks show, I don't know, New York, the city of New York would provide with pyrotechnics, the fireworks show, and blasting off fireworks out of the garden, Madison Square Garden, that is. So what it is that I want is every town, is every city, even in Miami, has to do something. Yes, annoying orange. They have annoying orange celebration, please. Florida is the orange. Florida is a state where they grow oranges or citruses, but annoying orange, pain in the ass square or something like that. That's a Miami thing, but like to have the Orange Bowl parade and stuff. But if I can't make it in New York to see the 8K fireworks display on the screen and the actual fireworks extravaganza in Times Square for New Year's Eve, presented by Sony. So I think I would like to be with somebody and kiss somebody in Times Square, even when pyrotechnics could be one of them. I don't know if I kiss one of them hottest YouTubers in YouTube right now. Like, she promotes a bunch of new stuff, or just every year. I think she's in CES and so on. And even though probably if I even get to read her book, then I would say, yeah, come on, in Times Square, 8K jumbotron, fireworks extravaganza in Times Square, New York City, when the ball falls down in 2020. Then that's it. What we're gonna do. So please subscribe to the Embargo Man channel. Yes, and I hope that everything is. I'm probably my name that YouTuber that she might be excited to be in Times Square, seeing the Sony jumbotron OLED screen when it pops out with fireworks. I think Justine Nazarick. Well, New York would be the place to be. So January 31st, 2019, at the stroke of midnight 2020, that's where the OLED 8K OLED technology starts, and that's where the real fireworks come out, even fireworks popping out of the garden. So that's it. So bye, take care, peace out, and please subscribe to my channel, and see you on the next video on Embargo Man. Bye.